So the idol of friendship has to fall, okay, in the conservative movement. If your friendship, okay, is more important to you than doing what is morally upright in the sight of God, then that friendship has become an idol, and it has become between you and God. So that's an issue that has to be dealt with. The other issue that has to be addressed is, in the last several years, I feel like I've had a revelation from the Lord, or I feel like the Lord has helped me to understand more about power dynamics. Power dynamics, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in politics, in the church, whatever. But one of the greatest acts that Jesus did, in connection with the greater act, the whole of the act of his sacrificial atonement on the cross, was to actually lay down his power and allow the dignitaries and powers such as Pontius Pilate and the Sanhedrin to take hold of him and actually do with him as they would. Jesus said, I have power to call down a legion of angels right now on the spot. He says, but I use my power to lay down, actually my life, to lay down my power, to relent my power. So one of the greatest tests that all leaders have to pass, okay, is when you've accumulated power, the ability to lay down that power and trust God. So one of the things that's happening, and I really see this with Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation and his response, okay, in response to the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes interview. Now, I don't claim to judge his heart, but I think this is definitely playing a role. I think many people like him, many leaders in the conservative movement, are afraid, okay, of losing their power. They're afraid that if they don't include Nick Fuentes and his Groyper army, that we're not going to be powerful enough moving forward to do what we need to do with the left. But you know what? The fact of the matter is, there are times, okay, in your life when you have to do what's right and you have to trust God and let the chips fall where they may. You don't think that God has the ability to put together a bigger and a greater coalition than we've ever seen in the conservative movement? Okay, if we keep people like Nick Fuentes and the Groypers out of it, you don't think God has the ability to lead us in that way? Of course he does. Of course he does. We keep making these compromises in the conservative movement. We keep including more people. We've included homosexuals, we've included transgenders, and now literally we are quite literally including anti-Semites, white supremacists, people that think that whites are the superior race and that America should just be composed mostly of whites. We are quite literally including those people now into the party. I mean, the way that conservative leaders talk, they're saying that these people are on the right. They're on the right. They're in this party. But it's essential. It's essential for leaders at times to do what's right, even when it looks like it's not the smart move, even when it looks like it's not the most strategic move. And I know people are going to say, well, Stephen, you're not a politician, you're just a preacher. Of course, that's what you got to say. I guess even some people, would make the same argument in that way why they wouldn't vote for Trump. It's because they felt that even though we live in a binary system electorally and there's only essentially one choice or the other, they felt even though the math seemed to not work, they weren't going to vote for him anyways on conscience and on a moral stand. But, concerning this is quite a bit different than Trump, okay? Trump has flaws, he has warts, he has bumps, but for the most part, his policy and his greatest stands are very, very good and very, very much in line, I believe, with what God's purpose and plan is for this nation, okay? When you're talking about Trump, billionaire playboy who's made some mistakes in his past and gets a little carried away at times with its rhetoric, that is quite a bit different. And I'm not downplaying any of Trump's sins, okay? But that's quite a bit different than being a Holocaust denier, a Nazi sympathizer, a Hitler lover. And once again, like I said in my last video, don't tell me they're just joking. When they say it over and over again with passion and emotion in their voice, it tells me that it's coming from the heart. You can only get away so much with the persona of, well, I'm just joking. under the pretense of I'm just joking, you can get away with anything. I mean, shoot, you can be a joking comedian like Dave Smith and affect world geopolitics, but bear no moral responsibility for your words and for your dialogue, even though you're not even close to being qualified to say the things that you're saying, and you can just hide behind, well, I'm just a comedian, I'm just joking, you can't hold me accountable. It's a major problem that we have right now. These jokesters, these comedians, and that's the official comedians, ones that go in and out of comedy clubs, and that's the jokesters, the pranksters, like Nick Fuentes, who get away with saying the most atrocious stuff under the pretense of, well, I was just joking. I didn't really mean it. That's the joke. The joke's on you. Wink, wink. No, you're not just joking. You do really mean it. But I believe that I believe that we do not need Nick Fuentes. We do not need the Groypers, okay? We do not have to open up the tent and include the anti-Semites. I'm sorry. And as long as I'm in this movement, that will never happen. I will never accept that. Not ever. That is a deal breaker for me. Okay, so if that's what the conservative party becomes, I am no longer going to be conservative.